That was definitely the wrong button. See if I can find myself on YouTube. Make sure I bring up live chat. And then, of course, the very important glasses. Good evening, Model Railroaders. How are you? Right off the bat, we had Wig Wag Workshop, or Wiggy Waggy, in here trying to guess who Peter is. Not sure. We'll have to figure that out. We'll ask a few questions and maybe we'll find out who it is. Pumpkin Eater? No, that's not him. Cottontail? Maybe. Joe Rader was next in here. We got to say, though, Wiggy Waggy was in here at 5:48 p.m. That's early. Joe Rader followed at 6:16. Boxcar Jerry. I think he's over doing a live stream right now himself. How you doing, Jerry? Chris Mitchell popping in saying hi. And then we had John number 2 with Schoolkill River Valley. How you doing, buddy? Lehigh River Subdivision saying hi to Sparky and all. Hey, I'm Sparky. You're saying hi to me. Awesome. Artie, all the way over from that little island called Australia. Anthony Dodge, Model Train Outsider. Nice to see you, sir. James Galton, at home and resting and relaxing, I'm sure, instead of unpacking boxes. Norman Rowe, good day, sir. New Lynn Railway, New Haven N Scale. Drew Dudes Model Trains. Lots of people popping in now. You can hit live and 7 o'clock hits and everybody rolls in. John Benicki, how are you? Kyle Stevens. And maybe if I catch up with the chat, I'll see anybody else in here. Low Country Railroad. Got to learn how to read too. Tim at CP368, how are you doing? Mystic Railroad. And Jeff, the Railroad Enthusiast. Awesome name. I love it. We're all enthusiasts of some sort. Ethan Armoridge, how are you, sir? My name is Uncle Ethan Armoridge. Hey, you're an uncle today, are you? Well, you were probably an uncle before, but anyway. Nice to see you popping in. Rail Fan Man. Hey, Sparky and everyone. Very cool. Derail, how are you? Or Derail Daryl. BNSF 6951. Nice to see my brother. Vinny popping in. Everybody saying hi to everybody. Very cool. Got a very special thanks to the people from my last Wednesday night live stream. We had Rail Artist with a super chat and Trackside Mike. Very cool of you guys. And then on, I think it was the Sunday, I did my GoPro live. Had a couple extra trees planted up there. Trackside Mike, Grandpa Rails, Ray Bertelson. Hopefully I got that. Hopefully I know how to read my own writing. And Derail Daryl did last, it was Sunday because he was doing the Sunday's live Sidetrack Sunday. That's what it was. Digger Evans, how are you, sir? Ahoy, everyone. Man, it's going to be about midnight over there, isn't it, Digger? Waycross trains and surrounding area trains. Very cool. Wonder what you model. Whatever Works Railroad saying hi. Very cool. So, do have a guest in the basement. Well, he's not actually in the basement. If he says something, you can't hear him. Maybe he won't say anything. Who knows? But I just left it up there as Peter. So how many Peters do we know? Because we don't get a lot in the chat. So anybody got a guess on who the Peter would be that we're going to bring up and meet tonight? He is a model railroader. Haven't seen any videos of his model railroad lately, his own model railroad. But I'm sure he has one. Oh. Joe Rader saying hi to everybody still. Wigwag, I have 4 guesses. Go for it, Wigwag. Oh, you gave 4 guesses. Yeah. It's not Peter Cottontail. It wasn't all those other ones you said. What were all the other ones you said? Peter Rabbit, Peter Cottontail, Peter Pumpkin Eater, and Peter from Peter, Paul, and Mary. Nope, none of those. Dwight Curley, nice to see you. New Fenris Railroad. How are you doing? Long time no chat, buddy. Anthony from Georgia Sunbelt's popping in. Evening, y'all. Who's Peter? I know. I'm not quite sure who he is either. Just somebody I sent an email to and said, hey, you know what? I need somebody on my show tonight. Can you do it? He's like, yeah, I guess. Why not? Marquis Saunders, good evening. How are you? Does he haul pumpkins? No, this Peter does not haul pumpkins. I don't even think he might not even have a garden. We'll have to ask him that maybe. Peter Gabriel. No, can't be that one. I'm going to build SCL freelance layout. Awesome. Work's being crazy this year. New Fenris, I know. They've been shipping me all over the place. I've been like 2 hours from home. Right now I'm 30 minutes from home. Better not say that too loud. Somebody might hear me and ship me 4 hours from home. And it's like, oh, we need your expertise over on this site. No, you don't. Everybody knows my job. Give me a break. Peter LL. That is the guest from Vinny. Venus F6951. Peter LL. I don't know a Peter LL. I know an M Peter LL. Maybe that's what you mean. Seaboard coastline and HO scale. Very cool. How are you now? Sidetrack, how are you? And nice to be needed. That's John. John's needed. We're talking about Peter's, not John's. New Land Railway, how are you? Nathan Delay. How is that apartment of yours working out? And Martin, how are you? Peter, who does custom layouts. Peter, who does custom layouts. Well, I think we all do custom layouts, Martin. Like, mine's a custom layout. I built it myself. I think I know what you're trying to say. But, well, again, we'll have to talk to him and find out. Maybe he does do custom layouts. And everybody, Nathan Delay saying the apartment is working wonderful. I bet, man. It's got to be good. Be free. Amy's out tonight. She's doing her soccer because of the COVID thing of the last 2 years. Sorry, showstopper of the last 2 years. She just hates being stuck in the house now. So any chance she gets, she's out playing soccer, walking. She's still doing that Princess Margaret walk. That's on September 10th. And we do know Peter's got a very squeaky chair. She's also talking about getting into some like 15K walks and other things for other surrounding people. James Galton, how are you? Thank you, buddy. That's a super chat, super sticker, something. I'm not sure. We'll give you the nice green one, whatever. Hey, maybe I should have asked this Peter guy if he's got wigs. We could have made him wear a wig or something. That would have been funny. Some of my guests have had wigs. You never know, right? Making me jealous, Nathan. Congrats. I know. To be out on your own, I can remember the days. My first apartment and how free you felt. And then it was like, oh, I got to pay for this stuff. So now I got to get a job. And now if I want to buy anything extra, like food, I got to get a real job. It's not always easy being out on your own. But then you think to yourself, I've got no rules. I am out on my own now. And then you find out, well, now you got to go to bed early because you got to get up early for work or school or what. There's more rules when you live on your own than there is under your parents' roof. I'm telling you. So just saying, stay at home as long as you can. Cheaper that way. So, Missy J, how are you? She's saying hi to everybody else. So, come on, guys. We need some guesses on who this Peter guy is going to be. We've seen a couple guesses up there. Sparky, what type of wigs do you want to get next? Real ones. I don't know. What should I get? Maybe we should do a poll question sometime of what my next wig should be. And Peter from Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Now that would be a pretty cool guest. But he'd probably like shoot webs out of his wrist or whatever and block his camera and you wouldn't see him anyway. Peter from The Office Space. I don't watch a lot of TV, so I don't know who that is. First time on my own was 50 other guys in a barracks. That's kind of, you got a lot of rules on that one, Joe. Wow. And Artie from Aussie Model Railroading. $2 for a can of WD-40 for Peter's chair. I think they're more than $2. Sure. See, you made him move it. Oh, Peter Griffin. Oh, there we go. That'd be a good one, too. Again, though, I don't watch a lot of TV, so might not. Peter. Oh, who had that one up? What was that? Peter Lloyd Lee Layout Design Designer Supremo. Is that English? I don't know about that one. Maybe we should just bring the guy up. See if you guys were right or not. Hey, there he is.
Yep, they were.
A couple of people got it anyway.
Yeah, I think I saw my name come out 3 times. So, good evening, everybody.
I wish you were Peter Parker, though. That would have been so much more fun. You could have been
thanks.
I just thinking you could have been hanging from the ceiling right now, looking down up from the camera and stuff. But maybe we'll get him next week. You never know. I'm not sure if you can hang from the ceiling. Oh no, I shouldn't have said that.
Upside down.
Oh dear. And only on a live stream would you get this kind of shenanigans going on. Thank you, Artie, for the super stickers, chat, whatever that was. You got the beard for a couple minutes. So, yes, everybody. Peter Lloyd, M. Peter LL. I just got to ask, how did you come up with M. Peter LL?
Well, my first initial for Michael, my whole name, the name that I go by is Peter, and LL for Lloyd Lee.
Not bad. Not bad. It's kind of straightforward.
I know the first time you saw it, you thought it was M. Peter 11.
I don't think I've ever said that one. I think
yeah, you did. The very first time you did it was one of your subscriber special contests. I think it was your 500 subscriber contest, and I entered. And you brought out my name, and it was like M. Peter 11.
That's going back a long time. Wow.
Yeah.
James Galton says Peter's not building anything. Nope, he's just going to sit here and do a live stream for you guys so you can get to know him a little bit better. So
no, I don't have a computer in my workshop.
That's probably a good thing.
So I can go build something if you like. I want to talk to you.
Yeah, we'll just have to listen to your chair squeak, I guess. So first off,
someone's asked you from England.
So tell us all about Peter. Who are you?
Well, I did see a question came up where I'm from. Well, I'm from England originally. I was born in Bristol, Avon. I lived out most of my childhood in Somerset, which is the adjacent county. My parents dragged me off to South Africa when I was 12. Stayed there till I was 21. Went back to England, lived in Surrey for a few years. Got married to an American woman. Came over, lived in Phoenix, Arizona. I think I got here, it was December 10th, 1998. So I lived there for a few years. I lived in Hawaii for a couple of years, Michigan for 14, and I've been in Central Tennessee for just over 3.
So you went from the really hot weather to really cold weather.
Yes, and I don't believe in short distance moves either.
No kidding. Top to bottom.
Nothing on that list is less than about 1,000 miles.
Well, I walked 2,222 miles to go to Vinny's one time, so I know all about long distance travel. That goes back a long, long time for a joke anyway. So Artie's leaving us already, I think, or Railfan Man. I always miss that. Take care, Jason, Railfan Man. So it must have been him popping in and taking off. Everybody's still saying hi to everybody. I find your story interesting and intriguing. That's from Mr. Nathan DeLay.
Okay. Well, thank you.
So what was your first memory of a model train?
Trains have been central to my life, or model trains have been central to my life since my earliest memories. My dad was an enthusiast, and his dad before him. And I remember going round to all the train shows in England.
Yeah, they do have a lot of train shows over at the UK.
They do, yeah.
Be a good
They
size.
have a very different format to the US, because most people there build portable layouts because they don't have room for anything permanent. So the vast majority of layouts in England are either tiny terminal layouts, like branch line termini, like what we would build on top of a bookcase, or they're club layouts, and in every case they're portable, so they get taken to shows. Whereas the average model railroad in the US is much bigger and permanently installed.
I think James Galton's trying to get your attention. He keeps saying how much he likes your builds.
Well, thank you, James.
You got a fan.
I do enjoy them. Actually, I got about 15,000 fans.
Oh, sure. Rub it in. I've only got 5,000. So I get it. You should be interviewing me, maybe. I don't know. So when did you really get serious about doing your own model trains?
I guess it gradually developed throughout my childhood. I remember I started hand laying track when I was 12. I think that's the only milestone I remember the exact time.
And you have your own layout now.
Technically, yes. It's not set up. It's still in crates after the move. I've been here 3 years, and I've only got one piece. I got one section out a while ago to use as a backdrop for my videos. But I've got to remodel the basement before I can set it up properly.
Gotcha.
And at the moment, I have to work. So I don't have time to do that.
Yeah. See it? Oh, where'd he go? Yeah. James is a real big fan of yours.
So I beat out Sparkman, right?
Yeah, because you're 15,000 to my 5. So if anybody's got a question for Peter, you can throw it up in the chat. If I see it, I'll put it up. Peter is kind of watching the chat too, so he can always jump in and answer it. I tend to miss it. If I do miss it, super chats work great, guys. You put that up, a big red screen comes up, and then I have to read it. So, and Jack's popping in. I'm sitting out here on a loading manifold to the hoppers, and it's hot. It's 105 degrees. Yes, sir. We're supposed to get really hot come Friday again. So he's building. Yeah. Okay. So James is saying you're busy building other layouts.
Yes,
So,
I am. I'm in the home stretch on a 500 square foot three level layout.
I know all about 3-level layouts.
Well, this one's is 2 scenic levels and 1 staging level.
I'm not a fan of staging. I'm going to ask you that right now. What's the big deal with staging? Because to me, trains, if they go into a yard, that's a staging area to me. So I'm going to have like 3 yards, 1 really big one, well, 2 really big ones, and 2 smaller ones. So 4 yards total. To me, that's like a staging yard. You don't need a spot where it goes off and comes back.
Okay, let me answer that question. Why staging? Okay, think of staging as the rest of the country, because you cannot possibly represent the entire nation's rail network in the confines of a model. So everywhere that you don't model is represented by staging. Think of it as, staging is essential if you want to operate realistically, because trains always go somewhere beyond where you can see them. If a train leaves a yard or wherever it starts its journey and doesn't go beyond where you can see it, then it immediately kills the realism of the way a railroad works.
That is one way to look at it.
Think of staging.
See, kind of what I'm modeling.
Okay, if you
the basic area, right? So I kind of can get away with it, but in the same sense, they did go to New York all the way to Chicago using this line, so could be hidden staging that way. So
think of staging as the wings of a theater. The trains are the actors. The operating schedule is the script. So when the actors all wait behind the stage until it's their turn to do their bit, then they come out of staging, do their stuff, and then either the train either gets broken down or goes back into staging again.
That's a good way to look at it, I suppose.
To my way of
thinking,
thinking,
understand hiding your trains.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, staging is essential. It doesn't necessarily have to be hidden. You can have staging in full view, as long as it's there.
So New Durham Junction's popping in, saying hi from over in the UK. We got a few people over here. And somebody else is asking, Peter, do you know the Pendon Museum? It's in England. And have you been there? Because England's such a
Yes,
small
I have been there.
Cool.
Yes, I have been there once.
And I'm sure I'm going to miss lots of questions because the chat goes like 100 miles an hour. So, has
There's a
Peter
question.
done a commission for a UK layout?
Yes, I was just going to ask that one. I did one a few years ago. It was the smallest design that I've done commercially. It was just a branch line terminal based on an area in Scotland. I forget the name of it, but it was an N-scale layout, and it was basically designed to fit along one wall of a spare room.
Now, that's the thing over in the UK because they're limited space. And I can never figure that out. So many of them are in attics. So they've got the expansion of the rails and everything else and a little bit of heat. And we go crazy if we get a little bit of expansion over there. They got to deal with it all the time. So, like you said, a lot of them are doing little shelf layouts and stuff like that too. So nice to see Trackside Mike popping in, but he'll be right back. Oh.
Yes,
So-
someone's mentioned fiddle yard. The difference between a staging yard and a fiddle yard is that a staging yard, the trains are set up prior to an operating session, and then once they return to staging, they stay there. A fiddle yard is where trains are worked on during operating sessions. The staging yard that I built on my last layout actually ended up using it as an active fiddle yard because it wasn't big enough. I squeezed in as much as I could. It wasn't enough. So I had to work on the trains during the session. I would set up the first 5 and then build the others after I had some space.
As you go, yeah. That's kind of the way I want to run mine. So, yep, New Durham Junction. His is 11.5 feet by 7.5 feet with a 3-foot dog bone. And then Nathan DeLay, again, does staging count if it's an operating session layout for operations? So again, it's either hidden or not hidden.
I'm not quite sure I understand the question. But the more you want to get into operations, the more essential staging is.
And you have dog eggs, Craig? Oh, geez. Some people can't type. So when you're running trains, well, first off, what scale do you actually model?
I model in HO mostly. I have had clients that work in N scale or O scale, but I'm an HO modeler myself. I did briefly work in O scale in England, but O scale there is different. It's not 1/4 inch to the foot; it's 7 millimeters to the foot.
Huh.
But the track gauge is the same. It's actually more accurate. O scale in the US, you got Lionel, which I think of as toy trains. I'm sorry for the line. I'm sorry if I offend Lionel enthusiasts there. I don't like the 3rd rail. 2 rail O scale in the US is basically running on a 5-foot gauge, so it's not as accurate as it could be. In England, most people work in 00, which is 4 millimeters to the foot instead of 3.5 on HO tracks. So they're working on narrow gauge, like 4'1".
But basically, the track over there is the same as HO scale. It's just their locomotives and rolling stock are a little bit bigger than ours. So.
But actually, it works quite well when you mix. If you want to run them on the same layout, obviously not during the same operating session, but because British trains are somewhat smaller, modeling them 4 millimeters to the foot, they're approximately the same overall size as American trains at 3.5 millimeters to the foot.
See, I always thought they were bigger, but you're probably right. Well, you're obviously right because you do this stuff for a living. So, but when you're running trains yourself, do you prefer operations or just running?
I prefer operations. I really like switching jobs. I like yard jobs and wave rates. also really like switching passenger trains, like head-in traffic and stuff like that.
I never thought really about switching passenger trains. To me, that's just get up and go.
It depends on the period.
Yeah.
If you're modeling the pre-50s, then passenger trains tend to do a lot of switching of head-in cars. In the Amtrak era, of course, they do hardly any switching.
Right. Which is kind of different too, because M&M Rails just posted a video on the weekend there of Via down by his place, and it actually, that's the end of the line where he was, so it actually goes into like a diamond type thing and comes back the other way, so it turns itself right around. So I thought that was kind of cool. Do you have any O-scale British trains, Peter?
Yes, I have a box of 00 scale British trains, mostly Hornby, and I have a few boxes of O-scale British trains, mostly scratch built.
That's kind of cool. So what do you like most about the hobby itself?
Everything.
No, you got to pick one.
Everything except the wiring. I don't enjoy wiring, mainly because it's uncomfortable being underneath the layout.
Yeah, every once in a while you see the smart people that build their layout sideways, do all the wiring, and then flip it down. But how many people actually do it that way? So,
yeah.
Kyle Stevens is saying, "Do you
I've done that once." Actually, yes, I do. It's Hornby.
Oh, cool. And Randall Ellison's popping in. Jack's a fan of yours too. He said, "Hey, great answer." Now the thing I don't like about O-scale basically is just to me it's not prototypical enough when it goes around corners and stuff and you get the articulation going. So many locomotives don't do that, so I just find it looks weird. So,
are you talking about the Lionel trains where they use ridiculously sharp curves?
Yes. So, what's your favorite British local, Peter? And yes, mine is the Class 37.
I don't know that I have a favorite. I have, there's a lot of British locomotives that I like. I know many years ago, if I'd been asked that question, I would have said the Evening Star, which was the last steam locomotive built for British Rail. Was a 210-0.
And it's amazing over there. They still run a lot of steam. So
there's a lot of preservation companies. I think probably more than there are here.
Yeah. Definitely not a lot of them in Canada. So what do you like most about the hobby then? Is basically anything but wiring. Which kind of answers the next question is, don't you like about the hobby?
Okay, I like the layout design. I like the bench work. I enjoy track laying. I like scenery, and I especially like running the trains afterwards.
Peter, did you scratch build the trains yourself, or did you buy from somebody else? And
I have never purchased anything that's been scratch built. I've only ever bought kits or materials. My O-scale stuff, probably 2/3 of it is scratch built, and the rest is from kits. Although many of the kits were modified.
And SF Raton, nice to see you popping in. Fred Wild's in here saying hi. White Wall Wheels 1 Hardcore MOH. And you probably really got New Durham junctions hanging off every word you're saying. Don't talk lots about the UK stuff anymore. So,
well, we can talk about the UK railroads if you like, railways.
You can talk all you want. Hey, and then there's Barnabas Junction popping in too. Another fine modeler and a live streamer from the UK. Good morning, railroaders. Yeah, you're about 12:28 over there, I do believe. So tell us what your dream layout size would be and what it would entail. Like you're about to redo your basement and stuff like that. You must have something in mind.
Yes, I do. I don't know if any of your viewers recall the layout that I had in my previous house. It was about 13 feet square with with a a closet in the corner for staging. That layout there, the plan is to split it in half and put one town at each end of. I now have a 50-foot basement. Put one town at each end, a short peninsula in the middle, and basically a scale mile of main line and one other town between the two. And then the harbour, the harbour town, I'm toying with the idea of turning it into an interchange with another railroad and having two separate yards in the harbour town. One owned by each company.
Well, I recall a lot of your videos from way back, and one of the favorite things I just got amazed with your detail on that coal loader that you have, or that you scratch built basically. So that was amazing. Mini Prince, nice to see you, sir. Sorry I'm late. Just finished dinner. Ah, you're never late.
Well, actually, it was a gravel loader.
Okay.
But I guess a coal loader could work the same.
Okay, it's been a while since I've seen that, so should probably go back and watch some of your older videos.
In fact, if I had completed the harbour town, I had a very interesting train planned for the operating schedule. It was going to run from staging full of coal, drop the coal off at the coal dock in the harbour, run back empty as far as the Centerville, and then load the same hoppers with gravel for the rest of the return run back to staging.
Now, you really like steam a lot more than diesel?
Yes, I prefer steam.
Yeah.
I'm okay with first generation diesels, but I prefer steam. And to me, after cabooses disappeared, prototype railroads lost all their appeal.
I think they did too. I've said that story many times on here. As a kid watching the Conrails go by, and we'd always stay for that caboose because there was a guy on there every day, and I swear he was drinking his Ryan Coke, big cigar in hand, and he was always waving. So must have been the best job in the world back then, I think. So I'm sure he wasn't actually drinking on the job, but hey, back then that was in the 80s, so you never know. So YouTube channel, you've got one? Right now your name's only Peter, so.
All right, I'll put my YouTube channel up.
Oh, he does have one. I'm pretty sure most people know who you are. Darren Lowndes, nice to see you. And Jack saying, I believe for beginners, a 4x8 layout is what they need. I don't like the hobby. You have less to get of. If you like it, it's a way to start. So yeah, start small and then build from there for sure. It's kind of one of the first things a lot of us will tell a beginner is always start small.
Yes, I believe in starting small, especially for something if you're not quite sure how much enjoyment you're going to get out of it. Although I would go so far as to say that a 4x8 layout is probably the worst size and shape you could come up with.
4x8, you can basically get a figure eight or an oval.
You basically can't get anything on it, anything railroady anyway, and it still takes up a whole room because you've got to be able to get around both long sides.
Mm.
You're much better off having the lumberyard cut that 4x8 into 3 16-inch wide strips and put them end to end in an L shape. You can still use the rest of the room for something else, and you've got much more usable railroad real estate.
See, now you designing layouts, that's some useful information there because a lot of us do start with a 4x8 sheet and just go from there. I would have never thought about doing an L and actually making the room still usable, which makes a lot of sense. You're better off just
building a narrow shelf around the walls.
So Mini Prince has a basement size layout, 30 by 12. And I had to do it again. I would just start with a 2x4 module. And modules is one way to go too, if you don't think your layout's going to be permanent. or if you think you're going to move it around, or if you want to change it around. So one thing I like about the module style is today you can have it set up this way, and next week you can take it all apart and have two towns that make one town and rivers, and just keep moving things around. Be a new layout every week
Yes.
for you if you wanted it. A calling for a caboose challenge. I already did one of those, Jack. Long time ago. Oh. I got to learn how to read my writing. So you'd stay with HO scale, though, if you redid yours?
Oh, yes, I've got so much invested in HO scale. I've got more than 30 locomotives sitting in boxes, 80 passenger cars, about 300 freight cars. So I've got virtually everything I need to build the expanded layout.
Everything
except the time.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there. So, so YouTube, how do people find your channel? It's just M Peter LL.
M Peter LL, and someone published my my website name a couple minutes ago. Forget who it was. Someone brought that up.
Really good moderator.
Someone's asked. Nathan just asked me, have I heard of the Bluebell Railway? Yes, I have.
Yeah, the Bluebell.
Although I think it's spelled as one word. I think Bluebell is one word.
I heard it was famous for the Thomas the Tank Engine stories, but it's a real place. I've never heard of it, so I've only been to the UK once. So would like to go back.
Tank Engine. Yeah, the Thomas the Tank Engine was actually a place called Sodor, which was an imaginary island just off the a little bit north of Blackpool. Yes, Fred, I do miss running trains on my own railroad. I will get back there.
Are you part of a club or anything, Peter?
No, I'm not.
So yeah, that's got to be hard then. Go from your layout and not doing any of it. So I'm sure you do get a chance to run on some once you get them built. So
yes, it's called testing.
Exactly. It's still a job then, right? That's going to be a later question. So do you have a favorite video on your channel that you've done? Making them think.
I don't know. There's a few videos that I like better than others. I'm particularly pleased with the one I did on passenger train operation in a small space.
Have you done any tutorials?
Yes, I've done tutorials on many things, including fast tracks turnouts, scenery work, the resin casting.
The resin casting, you do that. What's all involved with resin casting? Because a lot of people are into 3D printing now.
Yes, when I started doing resin casting, 3D printers were not a big deal. They weren't really affordable for the average hobbyist. And I wanted to create a believable harbor scene. And if you've ever looked at photographs of freight transshipment areas, they're basically a sea of crates, especially in the steam era. And to be able to get that look on a model, you're going to have to spend a small fortune on crates. So I built my own masters, made some molds, started casting them myself, and I thought, you know what? I could sell these. So I started selling not only the crates, but the molds as well.
When I'm not paying attention to the trains, they start making weird noises. Like, hey, you're supposed to be playing with us. So yeah, Vinny's saying he's got some of Peter's castings. I've got
Yeah,
some here too.
I sent him some samples right up as soon as I started doing them.
Yep.
At the time, he had far more subscribers than I did, so I figured more people are going to see them if he presents them on his channel. So I sent him a pack of freebies.
Well, like I said, I got some on my layout too, and they are really nicely done. They look real. So I haven't pre-read this question. I'm not sure if I should put it up.
Do you think HO scale is a cult? And if so, oh, that is a very provocative question. No, I don't think any scale is a cult, and I disagree with you that N scale is better. I think every scale has its pros and cons. If I had the time and the space and the money, I would go for O scale again. I don't mean 3 rail. I mean 2 rail. O scale is great. Is a great scratch builder scale. It's great for detailing, for when the individual models are significant. HO scale is a good scale for general operations. N scale is great if you want the scenery to overwhelm the trains. I just don't think it's the best for switching.
Yeah, I agree with Mini Prince on this part. The cult of people who can't see what they're doing, and that's for HO scale. I'd love to do my layout in N scale. I'd have so much more room running everything because it's so much smaller. Problem is, I could never put it on the track. So it would take me like 2 weeks to put a train together on the track. And, well, I'd rather be playing with them. So Split Rock says he likes to go 2 rail scale easier.
Yeah, my wife used to refer to N scale as nil scale.
Yeah, heard that one before too. Artie, Mystic. They say every class has to have a class clown. We got 2 of them in here, so. Oh boy. So how about a video of yours that you hated?
There have been a couple of videos that I've put up and taken down. So I guess I hated those.
Anything that's still up?
If there was anything up that was still up that I hated, I would take it down.
I think I got a couple of my original ones when I first started. They're still up. But looking back at them nowadays, it's like, oh my God, I really put that on YouTube? Well, because it is one of the things I like to do on people's channels, especially when I first get to see their channel, is I like to go back to like their first couple of videos to see how they started out, what they thought they were going to do on YouTube type thing. And some of them are pretty bad. So, and like I said, mine is just horrid. It's making a tree, bad lighting, everything else. So, but I leave it up.
My first video for my railroading YouTube was a slideshow for the first 6 months of my layout build. I did not have a camera capable of making video movies. I could only do slides. And for many months, in fact, might even been years, that was my most viewed video.
Well, a lot of people, that's all they can do is off a phone or something like that. And hey, post it. Why not share it with everybody? That's all what the community is all about, is sharing and getting information and questions answered and all kinds of stuff. What was Barnabas saying here?
A question came up just now that I'd like to answer. Fred Wild says, for those who don't know, it says, if you're a designer, I would say it's well worth the investment.
We're going to get into that very shortly.
Okay, we'll go later.
So that's just going to lead me right into this first question then, is with model railroading, you've been doing it for a while. You've got your own layout. You're into HO scale. You've done every scale. But how did you first come around to thinking of model railroading as a lucrative business and getting involved in it that way? How'd you turn model railroading into a business? Very open-ended question for you.
Yeah, I started off subcontracting for somebody else. I was in construction, like full-size building construction, for 14 years in Michigan, and it was getting pretty tough on my body. For one thing, the materials are a lot heavier than they are building models. I was outside all the time in atrocious weather, and I didn't want to do that forever. I was wondering if I could turn, a business from, run a business from something that I enjoyed doing more. All right, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed construction for the most part, although it was starting to get old hat. It was starting to wear on me quite a bit. At first, I was trying to find out if I could go into professional layout design. And I ended up talking with a layout designer. I think it was entirely an email conversation. Eventually, I decided that it wasn't for me because he wasn't charging enough. The amount of effort required to design a worthwhile railroad would be far too many hours for the amount he was charging. So I discounted that. But he knew of a professional builder who was looking for employees, looking for people to help him. So he gave him my name. I got a phone call, and I went to work for him as a subcontractor. All right, I was 900 miles away from him, so it's a little bit awkward. Wow. It wasn't until much later on that I got into the professional layout design, and I discovered that people will actually pay for my time, for the amount of time it takes to design a model railroad, and that's not trivial.
No, because when you're designing a layout, like, do people just tell you what they want? Like, I want Conrail, I want the St. Thomas, Canada area and stuff like that. Do you have to do the research, or do you make them do it?
Well, I have a questionnaire that I send them. It's got 46 questions on it, which gives a good indication of what sort of things they're looking for. And there's some deliberately open-ended questions on there, which are designed to make them really think about what it is they want in a model railroad. And that's the first step, is them filling in that. Oh, and sending me some money, of course.
Nothing's free.
I will happily do prototype research for them, as long as they understand that they're paying for my time. So I recommend that if they want a prototype-based railroad, that they send me what they have. Because the more research they can do, the less I have to do, and the less expensive the design is.
Very true.
But most people want.
Do you have a wig?
No.
No wigs?
No
Nothing
wigs.
at all?
No.
All right, Manny, you're gonna have to put up with me then. I'll wear it. This is the easiest wig to get into, and I can't find the hole. Manny, thanks very much, buddy. Oh, I really gotta invest in a brush.
Did I finish answering that last question?
Pretty much. Barnabas at Junction threw out there, why did you go HO scale for your own personal layout?
When I knew I was going to be moving from England to the US, I decided that I wanted to start building US models instead of British models. Prior to that, I was just working on a small branch line terminal in O scale. And I'd always drooled over the big basement size layouts that I see on a railroader. And I decided that the sort of layout that I wanted to someday build would be too big and expensive in O scale. So I made the decision to scale back to HO, figuring that given a decent sized basement, I can build the sort of layout that I dream of, whereas that's not going to be feasible in O scale. I didn't want to go down to N scale because I don't feel that it's a good scale for doing complex industrial switching.
I would kind of agree with that. You can get a lot more detail into HO scale, and everybody can see it. So kind of a catch for me is everybody can see it. I know I need glasses nowadays to read anything. So, and Lynn McCurley, why am I not seeing notifications when you're going to be on? Well, Lynn McCurley, the only thing I can really say to that is I've been at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday forever, five years. So as far as the notifications go, though, I don't know, click the bell, shut it off, turn it on, program it. Not sure, bud. YouTube's kind of funky that way. But I think Tom's Trains and Things just did a video on do notifications really work or not? Not sure. Most of the time I'll set up a reminder video because when someone's going to go live, it's posted up and you can hit set reminder. I never get the reminder either, so it is what it is. I think YouTube's just all screwed up, so totally portable.
There's a comment that's just come up that I'd like to respond to. BNSF 6951. My N-scale layout has great switch options. Yes, I know it does. I've seen his railroad firsthand and in his videos.
Yep.
I think it's a very nice, very well laid out N-scale railroad. The problem I find with switching an N-scale is reading the car reporting marks, and also the couplers being so big and clunky relative to the size of the car kind of detracts from the appearance, in my opinion. And also, I'm a little bit ham-fisted. If I'm trying to switch and uncouple something, I'm just as likely to knock an N-scale car off the track. So for me, I think HO is a better choice. And I don't want to take anything away from Vinny. He has a great layout in N-scale. It's not my scale, but that doesn't mean I like it any less.
Yeah, that is the thing, is you're going to model the scale that you are comfortable with. So does Peter do live streams?
No, I have never done a live stream.
Yeah, a lot of the videos Peter does now is him building a layout or something like that. And it's, what do you call that? Fast tracked, basically. Like you put it in fast speed.
Oh, it's a time lapse.
Yeah, that's it. Time lapse.
Time lapse.
Which is really good to sit back and watch. Like your video might be 15 minutes, but you can really see things develop that way too. Quite well.
It's typically 60 times speed because I have the camera take 2 seconds and then present it back at 30 frames a minute, 30 frames a second.
This is kind of another open-ended question because Nathan knows I do the live stream meet and greets, or the YouTube meet and greets down in Pennsylvania. So would you like to make your own train group and host events for it?
Well, when I get a chance to put my model railroad back together again, I would very much like to get a regular group of operators, probably once a month, to come and have an in-depth operating session.
Got to like you said, you got to find the time to build it. So,
well, the first town is almost complete. The second town is operational. Once I got the basement remodeled, it won't take long to set up that first town with a staging yard at each end. Phase 2 will be to install the port town, and then join the two together.
Barnabas is asking, what's your favorite part about modeling?
We've already answered this question, haven't we?
Yeah.
Everything except the wire.
I was hoping maybe you'd go a little more specific on that one, but So Vinny's saying it's time for dinner. Good to see you, Peter, and he's taking off. Thanks for popping in, Vinny.
Good to see you.
And Dave BNSFN Scale says he watches a lot of your videos. RDNT's popping in saying hi to everybody. Sean McGee has popped in. Still trying to talk Sean McGee to get over here and run trains while I'm doing live streams. Frank Muir, nice to see you. All right. So have you ever gone? So we kind of touched on it. You build other layouts and stuff like that, contract it out, design it, basically. Have you ever built one and then gone back to that person's place, say 3-5 years later, to see the progress on it?
No, I haven't been doing it that long. I've only been building layouts professionally for about 5 years.
Would you ever want to go back and see what they've done?
Once. There's one that I have a client in Atlanta, Georgia, who has me back about once a year to work on it. Although that's not a layout that I built. It was already built before I got there. I've just been helping him improve it. He has me there for a few days, about once a year. So I guess that one I keep going back to.
And Ian of Central Systems, thanks you very much, buddy. Get my newest one. Say I look good as a redhead, but I am a redhead, so. We've already answered this question too, but let's humor them.
Actually, we had a different question. Do I belong to an operations group that could visit your layout and run some test sessions? Not yet, but I did in Michigan, and I will again once I have the layout set up.
If anybody has any other questions, you can pop them on in there. We are trying to watch the chat. Sparky has one of your trains stopped in the helix. Don't say that. Nope, still going. Haha, Sparky, it's been trying. Where are you there, Sean? With wife working late nights for the last couple of months, it's hard to get over there. The critters need my attention. I hear you. Like I said, I've been all over the place for work for like the last 4 months. Worked like a month here, 2 months there. Back in Burlington now, so I'm only 30 minutes away. Like I said, though, can't say that too loud. Someone from work might hear me.
Okay, we've got someone here.
Yeah. Hopefully one of the moderators gets rid of that, so should be all right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Moderator got it. It's over in YouTube.
Yeah. Yep. Just block him.
Yep. Got really good fast moderators in here, so. And almost everybody's a moderator too, so that helps. So layout design, stuff like that. We see you build that with videos and things like that. What else do you do? We know you do the resin.
Build trees, turnouts. I do a lot of fast tracks turnouts. And in fact, that is one of my main lines at the moment. It wasn't something I intended getting into. It was as a subsidiary to my layout designs, because a couple of years back, it was getting increasingly difficult to find certain commercial turnouts. Walther's line of turnouts completely disappeared off the market, and the only option for getting their turnouts was secondhand on eBay and places like that. And there was nobody else that produced a number 8 double slip, which is a vital component for believable package terminals, which is something that I get asked to do a lot in my layout designs. And I felt that I couldn't justify including components in a layout design that were not available. So I wanted to make sure that they were available. So I thought, well, let's see if I can make them myself. So I bought the tools from Fast Tracks. I did number 8 double slip. Then I started with a few other turnouts. I went for the number 7 straight turnout because it's a very useful size. There's so many cases on a model railroad where number 6 is too sharp to look good and the number 8 is just too long. Number 7 is a great size and nobody makes one. So I make one.
Awesome. And then I use mostly number 8s on mine just because of the size of them. So
I've got about a dozen different sizes of curve turnout available in my web store, because having multiple different sizes of curve turnout gives you a lot of flexibility in designing a railroad. It allows you to get a lot more in your space than if you're only using straight turnouts.
So we're getting a lot of questions in the chat now. So Frank Neer, are you still a year out on design planning?
Not quite so much. I'm still quoting 9 months to a year, although I think it could be nearer the 9 months now than a year. I have had 2 cancellations recently.
Oh.
So that means everybody's layout design got bumped forward 2 months, because I figure I average about 1 a month.
We got Fred Wild. There are layouts you are out installing. How much of your work time do you spend at clients' houses? It's kind of a question I've had too, because obviously we watch you install them.
Yeah.
Do you get to stay at the client's house all the time, or are you doing the hotel and then back and forth? Or
usually it's a hotel. I have had one client that put me up in his house, and there was another one that put me up in an apartment that was in the outbuilding that the layout was being built in. And that was really convenient, because it meant I could just work any hours I wanted to. And I was doing 12 to 15 hours a day, because I was right there in the same building.
Yeah, and if you're there,
and usually we're hotel involved. Yeah, the more hours I can put in per day, the less expensive it is per hour, because the traveling and accommodation costs are amortized over more work hours.
Right.
But usually I aim to average between 8 and 9 hours a day.
So what are the pitfalls to
avoid on
avoid
large layout?
on a large layout?
Making it too big is probably the first one. It's easy to plan a large layout. It's a lot more difficult to build it. And I've had clients that have kept asking me to squeeze in more and more and more during the layout design process. And I want to scale it back, and they won't let me. Usually my layout design customers come to me because they can't fit what they want in the space they have available. It's very easy to get caught in the trap of too much track. And I know I've had a couple of people criticize my layout designs for being too much track. And to some extent, they're right. But I'm designing what the customers asked for.
If there is questions that pop up that you don't want to answer, just say pass, because there might be one coming up. I might not even put it up, but this is kind of a curious one. Mini Prince is asking, what error do you see the most for new layouts? So are we looking at steam, diesel, new era?
I think most people that I work with are somewhere in the last 50 years. I think the steam era is getting less common now. I've got a big build coming up next year where the guy's running 3rd generation diesels, unit trains of double stacks and things like that. The client that I'm doing my current build for, he likes diesels, although more like the 2nd generation, not so much the 3rd and 4th generation diesels. I find a lot of my clients haven't yet picked an era. They want something that's going to be very generic, which of course adds a lot of challenge. Because, for example, I've got one I'm working on right now. He wants a big passenger terminal, but he wants to run trains from the 40s to the 90s. And passenger terminals change during that time to the point where they're no longer recognizable.
Yeah.
So eventually the question I asked him was, do you want to switch your passenger trains or just have them stop? He said, I just want them to stop and continue. So that's problem solved. So I designed him a more modern era passenger terminal. Can I talk about
trends that you're seeing? Yeah.
Trends that I'm seeing? Age, location, scale, era, etc. Well, if you mean age of clients, most of my clients are more established people, the older generation, because they're the people who can afford to hire me. You know, my time isn't cheap. Scale, I think it's mostly HO. It always has been. It always has been the most common scale. What else was on that question? Era, I've already answered that.
Yeah, scale, era, etc., age, location.
Yeah, location is all over the world. Actually, yeah. I've had clients on 4 different continents.
Saw another one in here. What was the biggest build that you've ever done? And then another question to go on that was, what was the smallest build you've ever done? Which we have answered, but answer again, I guess.
Okay, the biggest build that I've done so far is the Masabian Western, which is going to be an ongoing project for many years yet. That is, his basement is something like, well, the layout overall is about 38 feet each way, but it's not a square. There's some alcoves, and there's 3 full decks. So that's the largest one I've built to date. Although the project for Sydney, Australia, that's coming up next year is going to be bigger. It will only be 2 decks though, but it will be 54 feet long.
And it was Nathan DeLay saying, I probably shouldn't be asking this, but how much does it cost for you to do a layout? And I would imagine that varies quite a bit depending on, like you said, the time that you put into it and the amount of work too, I would think.
You might as well ask, how much does it cost to build a house?
Yeah.
There are hundreds of variables. So I can't even start to answer that question.
No. And that's what I was trying to get at for Nathan, is like it varies so much to, okay, like, do you want a shelf layout that might cost a couple $100 to do that and build it and put it in place or whatever, to, like you said, the biggest one that you've done. I'm not even going to try to guess how much that would be, but again, the amount of details and work involved, how many levels, how many grades do you have on, like, just way too much to even think about. And I'm sure prices probably go up and down as things are going added. I'm sure people add all the time. So, but yeah, the other question was, what is the smallest one you did?
I've just noticed that my Sydney customer has chimed in. Looking forward to having me come to Sydney and install a layout. So thank you, Peter. It's another Peter.
Huh. I'm not sure where that one is. So
I had someone else invite me to their home when I'm in Sydney as well. Nearer the time, send me an email. I'd love to pop in.
I'm Peter Tillman.
Yes, and then Osmerica Model Railroading RT0 has also invited me around.
Yeah, he's saying if you come over, you're welcome to pop over. Artie's looking for free advice.
I'd love to as many people as I can.
Oh, for sure. I know when I was in the UK, we could visit. It was great. So that's what it's all about, meeting everybody. Peter does great work. He's not cheap, but worth it. Again, that's your number one fan. That's what I'm going to call him from now on.
I'm trying to think if I've done work for him before. I don't recognize the name.
James Galton is from Ontario, Dundas, Ontario. So I'm not sure if he said he was going to send you an email soon. I'm not sure if he's talked to you in the past about it starting a layout, but he just moved too. So
who are we talking about now?
That was Peter Galton, or James Galton.
James Galton. Okay.
Dundas, Ontario. And the trip ended quick. Spark got about 6 miles. Okay.
What roads do I like to run? And no, I haven't already answered that question. I like most railroads, although my layout is intended to be entirely freelanced. I haven't even come up with a name for it yet. Although I was thinking of something along the lines of Erie and Northeastern, because the area it's running. I was thinking of a port on Lake Erie and another port on Long Island Sound. Join the two together, and a route up through the top end of New England.
Huh.
So that's the area I was thinking of designing my prototype route for.
So we'll take a couple more questions. We're past 8 o'clock. Wife was been home for a bit, so get in and talk to her very shortly. And I see Heath was nice enough to show up. Hello, model citizens. Hello, Peter. I will need to go back and watch this one. That was pretty boring, Heath. You don't have to watch it. Just us sitting here listening to his chair squeak. Rapid fire, short line or main line? Oh, here you go. Mini Prince is on fire tonight.
Short line or main line? That really depends on what you want to represent. Usually,
this is rapid fire. This is rapid fire. You got to go fast.
Usually, a short line you can get more of the railroad in a modest space, and you can get it running faster with less expense. So I think overall I prefer short line to main line. Although there's no hard and fast point at where one becomes the other.
Freelance or prototype?
Either is good. Depends on what you want to model. If you can't find the prototype that does everything you want to, then go freelance.
Eastern or Western?
I like them both.
USA or other?
I like USA and I like England. I like models from both places.
And Barnes has just kind of thrown it in there for my next trip to the UK, which I'm hoping is going to be like next September now. And yeah, Amy and I have been talking about it anyway. So just to let you know, Barnabas, it's in the works again. So, but it's a good squeak.
Someone's asked about the most complicated layout I've ever done. That would be the Masabian Western.
Mm-hmm. Now, does bigger mean harder?
No, not necessarily. Neither in design or in building. Often a smaller layout is harder to design than a bigger one. For a larger layout, there's just more. It's often just more of the same.
Just bigger pieces of it.
And more of them.
Yeah. So I do have a couple questions on your builds and stuff like that. Watching your videos and everything, you basically start with what, 3/4 inch plywood?
Yes, all my bench work is cut by ripping 3/4 inch cabinet grade plywood into strips.
You go that way just because it's cheaper for you, or
It's
you
better.
like the measurements better? Or?
It's better. It's a lot more dimensionally stable than solid wood, so it won't twist or warp as readily with changes in temperature and humidity. It can be a little bit cheaper because if you it depends on what grade of pine you buy. If you go for the good stuff, which might stay straight, it's going to cost an arm and a leg. If you go for any cheaper grade, it's going to banana in no time. So I like the stability of the plywood, even though the plywood I bought was close to $100 a sheet. It's still less expensive than clear pine. And of course, I can rip it any width I like, so I can use multiple sizes of wood in the same frame. So there's very little wastage.
And you're getting good at it too. You rip enough of it. I'm not very good with the old power tools. I leave all of that to the wife. So
well, you've got to have a table saw.
Oh, she has one. Amy's into a lot of woodworking stuff. So, and we're stuck on the quick fire. So HO or 00?
HO US or double O in Britain. Someone is asking about track planning. Said he talked to a person that designed model railroad and track planning and going to be $3,000 for the track plan. Well, it depends on the size of the layout. I have done track plans that have gone over $3,000. That's you get a pretty big one for that. If this gentleman or this person who quoted you $3,000 for the track plan, if he does really good work and it's a complex layout, then that's not over the top. Of course, there are a lot of people out there that do track plans professionally, and not all of them are very good.
Now, you kind of surprised me when you and I were talking, and you said there's a lot of people out there that are actually doing that, and I wouldn't have thought that at all. Like, I know of you, and I know of a couple others, but you said there's a lot, and then you said it's advertised in a magazine.
Yeah, Model Railroader typically carries 5 or 6 adverts every month for professional builders.
Wouldn't even thought about it. So,
and then when I was looking to break into the professional market, I found about 3 times as many companies as that nationwide that build custom model railroads. What am I using?
Yeah, what are you using for track plans, Peter?
I use a computer CAD package called Third Planet, which is very good. And it has a pretty steep learning curve, but you can actually download a free demo version, which will give you enough of the functionality to be able to learn the package, learn the program, and decide whether you want to invest in a license. So that's the route I took. I downloaded it, I messed around with it, and in fact learned how to use it before I bought it. One thing you can't do with the demo version is save anything. But if I'm just practicing the tools and learning it, you don't need to save it. Code 83, definitely. Code 100 is way overscale. In fact, I prefer code 70 and code 55.
I had a feeling you were going to go a little smaller. So
the oldest error I have done, I haven't done anything earlier than late steam. When I was working in O-scale in England, I set my layout in 1926, and that's the oldest I've ever done.
And if you were asking me that, I am basically modeling the 80s. But if you look at my rail yard, my original one, it's from basically 1950s, 60s, because it's going to have the turntable and transfer table in it. So I am blending them. Frank Neer's asking, when is Amy going to do more videos? She is higher up in the company now. She's a boss, so she's pretty busy even when she's not at work, which just drives me nuts. She comes home and she's still working, and she doesn't get paid for it. So when she can, Frank, I'm sure she will try to get one out there. But what are you using for track plans? We did that one. Question: traditional wood, cork, or foam?
Traditional wood. As far as foam, as far as roadbed is concerned, I tried cork on my previous layout. I didn't like it. I'm now using neoprene, which I found by mistake. It's I'm getting it a big roll. It goes like 54-inch wide by 50 feet long, and it comes in multiple thicknesses with a sticky back, and I found it perfect for roadbed.
I'm not sure if this is to answer your previous question on that $3,000 one. That much money for a track plan to design and print out full size, or is that saying how much? But again, it's hard to talk price, guys, because there is just way too many variables. Think about what you want for your layout compared to what somebody else wants for theirs to say what I've got on mine. So how would you price any of it until you actually get, well, until Peter gets his answers for his 37 questions?
Well, I think what I would recommend anybody who's in the market for professional work, whether it's just a track plan or a full build, I would recommend they contact as many people as they can, as many service providers as they can, talk to all of them, and then decide which one you feel most comfortable working with. Price is not the only thing that matters. You've got to be comfortable in your relationship with your supplier.
For sure. There's a good question. Very popular.
Neither. Changing, definitely. I wouldn't say it was either growing or dying.
You know, I would answer that. I think it was growing just because of the showstopper. Everybody was stuck at home and they needed something to do. So a lot of people picked up model trains as a hobby. Now, hopefully they keep with the hobby now that you can start going outside and doing things and everything else. So, and of course, the next question from Manny Prince to go with that is changing how?
We've already mentioned 3D printing. We've mentioned foam. Not so long ago, foam would never have been thought of for use on model railroad. If you go back a couple of decades, you'll find that that scenery was typically cardboard strips and newspaper or paper towels. It's certainly changing in the techniques seem to be all about trading higher cost for less time. Like foam, like stacking foam for scenery instead of the hard shell. You know, that sort of thing. There's a lot of things that Model Railroad publish these days that would just seem to be far more expensive than they need to be. But then I don't want to knock them. They're pushing the boundaries. They're trying new stuff, and there's no advancement in any field without doing that.
And so Barnabas Junction says he uses laminate flooring underlay as his track bed. Super cheap and very versatile.
I've never tried it. I can't comment on it. Oh, okay. Yes, I'll go along with that. Most of my track plans are for big, complex layouts, usually multi-deck with helixes. I would suspect that is because the simpler layouts are easier to design. If someone has got plenty of space for the type of layout they want, they can plan it themselves. The ones I get are probably just I think are mostly people who have tried to get the layout they want into the space they have and they can't do it. Does that answer the question?
That was just on the $3,000 part. So
I like beef and chicken.
Turning into a chicken guy. I don't know why. Okay, so I think we're pretty much out of questions. Pretty much 21 minutes over my hour, but there's really no time limit. So if you have anything else you really want to talk about and let people know about you, biggest thing is if somebody wants Peter to design a layout or anything, they get in touch with you. By going to his channel. Yeah, go to his channel, mpeterll, and he's got his website and his about section, and a lot of times it's also in the description, I believe. So another question that popped up is the videos that you're doing lately, is that for a customer or for yourself?
You're talking about the Q&R and Scenic Valley is for a customer.
Right.
As we've already mentioned, I don't have time to do my own layout right now. I have so many people wanting to employ me. So I will make a suggestion. If anyone thinks they might want to employ me in the future, I would recommend getting in line now. All right, you're going to have to put some money down, but get in line now if you want to employ me next year or the year after or 3 years time, because my slots fill up fast.
So a $5 deposit, and once you're done the whole layout and everything else, it's satisfaction guaranteed or money back?
No, I don't do anything for a $5 deposit.
uh, yeah, John number 2, Schuylkill River, put up your website for us.
Yes,
Great
thank
channel, Robert. And people are still talking. So that's pretty much what I've got. Like I said, if you had, oh, geez, Mini Prince is on a roll.
I don't touch alcohol. Ford, but that's only because I've had more Fords than I've had Chevys. I like Ford trucks. I think they make great trucks. I think they make crappy cars. Any more?
I'm going to leave that alone. Artie's just asking to use my credit card so he can book you too. So I canceled my credit card. So
I don't take credit card anyway.
Actually, you can probably do that on your cell phone nowadays.
Difference between a USA and UK layout design. That's kind of that's an open-ended question there. We could talk for a month on that and not answer it. Was I a carpenter first or a model railroader? I've been both all my life. Do I consider myself an artist or a craftsman? A craftsman.
And on that, I'm pretty sure we're just going to call it a night. Highland Husky Moose Squad, thanks for popping in, bud. Great show, Sparky. Got to walk the pups. I think somebody else's pups need a walk too. They just come in behind Peter. Give his chair a little nudge and a squeak. Thanks, Peter, for being the guest. Enjoy your videos. Keep up the good work. Yes, I got to say thank you very much for popping in tonight with us. Asked a few questions, got to know you a little bit more. I'm eagerly awaiting your videos for your layout, but like you said, it's going to take some time to get the basement and stuff situated so you could do that. But any plans on maybe setting up a couple like a module and maybe running trains or showing things off again?
Well, as I said, I need to get the basement remodeled. Once I've done that, I have plans to get about half of the previous layout set up as phase 1 of my new layout. I already know exactly where it's going to go, but it's in a corner of the basement which really needs tearing out and starting again.
And lots of people saying great show, great show. Thanks, Peter and Sparky. Like I said, I enjoyed it very much too, learning a little bit about you. I've been watching you ever since I started basically too. So great channel to watch. I liked some of your tutorials, your scenery, and the detail that you put on your layout. To me, you were a master at it. I'd love to be as good as you or half as good as you on some of the stuff. And again, time seems to be the issue for everybody, for you doing your layout and things like that. And for me, even to take the time, I like to get a few things done, and I start to rush is what I find. So with you can't rush. You're getting paid to do it. So you got to be top quality all the way through. So James Golden says, #1 fan. Great show, Peter. Even left me out of that this time. So thanks, James. Tom's Trains and Things. Good night. Great show. Been a great show. Shame I missed out to the giveaway earlier. Yeah, so did I, apparently. Derail Daryl, is your contest done, or can people still answer? Not that it really matters. If anybody hasn't entered Derail Daryl's contest yet on his channel, you got lots of math and stuff to do. You got to watch the video 4 times, do the math 9 times, but I'm just going to give you the answer now. The answer is 107, 107. So you didn't guess that, you didn't win. If I'm wrong, Derail Daryl will say that I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm not right. So, Peter, thanks very much for popping in, bud. Like I said, great talking with you and stuff like that. I am going to shut this down, head into the house and see the wife for the first time today. She, like I said, was playing soccer and stuff like that. Frank Neer, I'll let her know that you wouldn't mind seeing a couple videos from her and her woodworking. She hasn't done a lot of woodworking. Like I said, she's busy at work and stuff like that. So hopefully she gets some free time. I know we got a long weekend, but she's got to go up and build a car shed up at her parents'. So never know. Charlie McGowan, Patrick Hill Station, better late than ever. You can always watch the replay, bud. So I'm sure I'll have to watch it too, just to see what some of the answers were. Final question. What is your number one advice for great scenics?
Practice. Just have a go at it. Don't necessarily do it on the layout, build a diorama, build a module, but just practice. Watch as many videos as you can, as many tutorials as you can. Try as many techniques. Try every technique you can find, and do whatever works for you. And eventually, you'll become better at it. That's my number one advice.
Yeah, no, that is great advice. Try, and practice does get you better. And if you don't get better, stop doing it and do something else. So I do have to say, Lynn McCurley did send me a mail call. See if I can get it up right. Sit back. This one is for the ceiling above me. So Lynn, thank you very much for that, bud. Can't wait to get that hung up. And if guys don't know, you guys can see my GoPro lives and stuff like that, but my whole ceiling from front to back is all flags. So, okay, sir, you can drop down and pop out. I am going to end the stream and head inside. I've said that about 3 times now. And there's still people popping in saying hi. So with that, I am going to say goodbye, everybody. Have a good night. Thanks for joining. And we'll see you guys next Wednesday on Mini Prince channel, 7 p.m. Have a good one, guys. And bye for now.